rough week for all cryptocurrencies and Ripple. How do you follow all the back and forth? I mean, is it like a roller coaster for you? Are you checking your phone every 5 seconds? I mean, sort of talk to me about your heart rate.
You know, it's funny, my heart rate definitely does move. That said, I try not to check it more than about once a day. And the reason, and the same thing I say internally, I would say here, is I don't think about this success over a 3-week or 3-month period. I think about it over a 3-year or 5-year period. And at the core, I think all this comes down to, are we solving real problems for real customers? And the crypto market overall, if a digital asset's solving a problem, then it's going to drive some value. There's a lot of action in this market, though. It's not clear what value it's really providing.
What are the problems you think Ripple is solving?
Well, so Ripple is solving a problem for cross-border payments. Today, as you may have experienced personally, when you're moving money from here in San Francisco to Paris, it literally is faster to go buy an airplane ticket and fly it there than it is to use the correspondent banking system. That's crazy that we live in a world of instant information from Bloomberg or anywhere or any time. I can't move my own money from point A to point B efficiently. So Ripple's solving the problem to enable real-time settlement between financial institutions.
So do you think there'll be a bounce back?
Well, I think we've already seen the markets bounce back some. I don't follow it day to day, but the peak of the market, probably mid-January, the total asset class was about over $800 billion. It dropped down to maybe 300 billion, and I think today it's back to 450 or so. Now, that's a ton of volatility. My counsel for anyone following these markets is don't follow it day to day. If you believe this is fundamentally a movement that's changing the nature of a new asset class, then I think you should measure that over months and years, not day to day.
Ripple was doing really well at the end of last year. There's talk about it being the next Bitcoin. Is that like a benchmark for you?
Well, look, I don't think there's going to be one size fits all. I have publicly disclosed that I'm actually personally long Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin increasingly is digital gold, and it's a store of value. But Bitcoin isn't going to solve a payments problem. The time it takes to confirm a Bitcoin transaction on average is about 3 to 4 hours right now, and per transaction, the fees are around $15 per transaction. That's faster than Swift, but in contrast, XRP is 1,000 times faster and 1,000 times cheaper. So it's a fraction of a cent to confirm a transaction, and it takes 3 seconds to complete a transaction. So I look at Bitcoin as solving a different problem than what XRP is solving, and I don't think there's going to be one digital asset to rule them all. I think you're going to see multiple players have success in this market, and I think that's how the market's behaving, where you have kind of a little bit of quality rising to the top, and how the overall market caps have been trending. A
lot of the volatility is due to regulation, and presumably there will be more regulation. What are you expecting?
Well, I hope there's more regulation. I think if we want this whole asset class to grow up and mature, of course there should be regulation. And in fact, those that I think combat regulation, I think aren't really thinking about the benefit. The revolution of blockchain is not going to happen from outside the system. It's going to happen from within the system. And governments aren't going to go away, and banks aren't going to go away. And some in the Bitcoin community come from that kind of anarchistic, libertarian view. I think one of the reasons why Ripple has been very successful is because we're working with the system. We count the Bank of England as a customer. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority is a customer. So central banks are working with Ripple today. We expect that to continue in the future for sure.
What do you think the regulation should be?
Well, I think the regulation shouldn't change much. And what I mean by that is, when you're executing a transaction using Ripple's software, you're going through one regulated financial institution to another regulated financial institution. Your KYC requirements, which stands for Know Your Customer requirements, your AML, anti-money laundering requirements, your BSA, Bank Secrecy Act requirements, that doesn't change because the bank is doing that on both ends. We're just making the plumbing much more efficient, much faster, much cheaper. And so from my point of view, the regulatory dynamics here, we should continue to have regulated financial systems. And when people, I think, are, oh my gosh, the regulatory is going to change, I think, well, XRP isn't circumventing any regulation, so I'm not that too concerned about it.
And what about what's happening in Asia? Does that concern you?
Well, the only thing that concerns me,
there.
Yeah, I think the only thing that concerns me is that if we throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I think we really have to understand that not all digital assets are the same. We did a op-ed piece written by our chief compliance officer to kind of just talk about some of the differences. And you have some digital assets that are designed for anonymity. They're designed to circumvent regulation. You know, literally, I saw a founder of a company talking about his digital asset, and he's like, "Yeah, we're for drug dealers and people in tax evasion." Of course, there's going to be enforcement against that. That's crazy to me that he would, in a public setting, you know, say that. Yep. In contrast, XRP is working with central governments, it's working with central banks, it's working within the regulatory framework, and you certainly were embracing the fact there should be regulatory frameworks applied to the digital asset and crypto market.
So you just partnered with Lian?
Lian, that's one of the largest payment, digital wallet payment companies in China.
So what does this mean, and what other partnerships to come?
Well, certainly we think about an interoperable world of all, whether it's banks, Lin Pay, you know, the Paytms of the world, even the PayPals of the world, and we think about how do we enable interoperability and very low friction between them. We're going to continue to work with, you know, players across the world. I think if people understand Ripple's value proposition, you know, our pipeline of partners and customers has certainly grown, and I'm excited to come back and keep you posted on those customer announcements.
All right, the year in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency 2018, what are you expecting?
Well, I think despite the volatility, I think you're going to continue to see a lot of bullish behavior.
But the volatility will continue. The
volatility will certainly continue. We're in the adolescent stage of developing a new asset class, and I think, you know, you're going to continue to see volatility. The thing that's very different, and I've been out in Silicon Valley for about 20 years, the thing that's very different about what's happening now versus the dot-com bubble is the dot-com bubble, it was the institutional investors who were in, and then retail came on top and priced things up. The exact opposite has happened here. You have retail and kind of speculative interest already in the market, and now you have institutional money starting to come in. And if you have fixed supply, which most digital assets have fixed supply, and you have increasing demand, I think that's a bullish dynamic that's going to continue to create some tailwinds for the digital asset market in 2018.